as one of the best experts in networking.
So one day you're at a gambling conference and the other day you're at a travel fair.
When everyone is aligned, let's say, with a goal, with a strategy, with a tactic plan, everything just can be on track for a really long period of time.
When you have people who are passionate and are high performers, that's the best thing to be around.
The key rules for manager: don't broke what works.
Very true.
Yeah.
Patience, persistence, and perspiration is a winning combination of success.
Daniel, I know you for a while, and my wife knows you for a while, but could you please share a bit about your personal journey with an audience, and how did you build yourself up to the man which I'm sitting right now with?
Thanks. First of all, thank you for this opportunity, Ihor. I started this journey, I would say, in 1999 with my first role. And it was in the helm, in the climax of the whole Y2K. And I was fascinated, incredibly fascinated, with something very basic. You create a product once and you can sell that over and over and over again, instead of having to repeat production of something with software, and that's where I got involved with first. We used to do financial applications, hospitality solutions, point of sales for restaurants, and a whole number of other things. I spent 11 years with that first company. That was a fantastic experience because it was a very small company. And as you can imagine, being a very small company, you get to do pretty much everything. I moved on to the banking world. Mm-hmm. Following that, I was part of a team where we were doing an internationalization project that lasted a few good years before I moved to Apcopay. And Apcopay was also a very fascinating journey because it had just been acquired by the group who owns it today, a company headquartered in Malta, but very international. So during my 3 moves, I would say, ever since I've been working, I saw 3 different and widely varied variants of companies. Small companies that were small, niche, and were very focused. Companies that were much larger, who wanted to see where they're going to get different businesses from, and having to internationalize or not internationalize, having to build custom software or not. And a company that was at the prime moment, Apcopay, to go to the next level. And Apcopay, although initially was a small organization in terms of resources, Apcopay was poised in a very strategic moment in its life and aligned to the Maltese market, where we had a massive initial influx of a lot of operators, hundreds of operators coming to Malta. So I would say part of it is serendipity, part of it is strategy on focusing on the gaming industry, where we were blessed to grow the company as it is today, and bring in people from different backgrounds and walks of life to form part of a team to basically process globally.
Awesome. And to be honest, I consider you as one of the best experts in networking and how to, find the people, how to build a relationship with them. Maybe you can share some, and I would like to ask you to share some secrets and best practices for you, and which works for you in building network, but most important, how to maintain these connections through time.
Very pertinent question to the industry we're in.
Yes.
First of all, it's all about your relationships. And one of the things You called it secret. In my eyes, it's nothing that anyone can not duplicate. It's a simple process. In my mind, it's connecting with people through either through finding common passions, through common ideologies, through approaches at doing different things, and it's basically striking the right balance of chemistry, I would say, with the person you want to speak to. We're all human beings, you know. We all have good days and we all have better days. So I think that apart from probably consistency of having, you know, a constant drip effect at attending shows, attending events, having a major and also a minor focus, I would say. So, for example, we are very aligned with the gambling industry. What if there are other industries that have sometimes nothing to do with gaming, but you know that you can learn something from those events and you can translate that possibly to something that you are focused on? Because most of the times it's getting inspiration from different ideas, then you can discuss these things because you're starting to align to a different subject, you know. So if there's a shipping conference about registration, then you might possibly meet someone who is involved in the maritime industry, and he might know somebody who is getting into a new venture, for example, doing shipping. That might potentially be another network for us, which actually is. We've developed that in a couple of countries. We're into airlines as well, you know. So one day you're at a gambling conference and the other day you're at a travel fair. It's about finding people you enjoy spending quality time with, understanding the person in front of you, or being sensitive to that person's boundaries, I would say. Does the person, you know, like spending a lot of time talking about life and family before business? Or, you know, are there other people who just prefer to cut to the chase? You know, cultural diversity also plays a big part in that.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, it's finding love for what you do, because it doesn't feel like a routine. You know, that's
Nice.
if I were to sum it all up, that's what it would be.
Yeah, we talked about a bit of external relationship, but let's get back to internal relationship that you have in your organization. So as a CCO of the Apcopay, you have a lot of people in your team. And could you please describe me more about what are your key principles, core principles, let's say, as a leader, and how you motivate your team and energize your team to achieve the goal that your company has?
Okay. Communication would be one of the main ingredients. When you explain to your team the larger vision and what each person is responsible for, you can start carving out a roadmap together with your team of what the company wants to achieve. I find that very important in structuring, especially with new joiners who need to be aligned with both the vision and the mission of the longer term goal, but then draw resources to the team where they would complement each other and even quite possibly challenge each other in a positively constructive way. If people feel that they are accountable for what they are doing, they will feel that they can become part of that journey. One of the things I spend a significant amount of time on is explaining to people where they could perhaps improve certain things without it ever becoming a micromanagement strategy. Sometimes people feel that they need to have their hand held more than others, which is okay. But then at some point, you need to also explain to that person that they can only grow further if they get to test a little bit of the deep end of the water sometimes. And maybe some people's character is more quicker to pick up.
Yep.
That a little bit of uncomfortableness. Certain people need to have that tapered into slower. So as a person, taking care of a team of people coming from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ideas. And that's one of the things also that I find helps a lot with the team. If you have people from different canvases, they will try things in different approaches without even knowing. They will feel empowered if you create the environment to. And of course, mistakes will be done. It's inevitable. The landscape we work in changes constantly. It's a moving target. So people will have even different rates of absorption. Of information, of challenging the banking partners we work with, learning from clients, quizzing each other on how they could do things, in a better way. So having a constant rapport with your team, but allowing them to feel empowered and accountable and setting objectives, but then guiding them. At reaching those objectives, not having to be a watchdog. Of course, you would need to intervene where you feel it is right from time to time, but it can't be done constantly, because then people start feeling that they are in some sort of too much of a structure. There needs to be, I think, the team needs to feel that they in control of the car, and they can guide the car where they need to, as long as the car is, reaching its objective. But how you drive the car, at what speed you drive the car, whether you take the off-road or the on-road, that's completely up to you. That's part of what we...
But when you're empowering people and they bring in you fresh air into the business and new fresh ideas, how do you keep everything on track to the right direction? I mean, because as the business, you move into one huge goal, right?
Yep.
And how do you handle these empowered people who just making a lot of new ideas and really want to shift somewhere else in some period of time into the direction that company has?
I mean, you have to be open to it, first of all. You have to accept that people want to change the course. That comes about from a lot of different variables on why a person is acting or reacting to certain conditions. Could it be because he really truly feels that there is a business opportunity into something else that we may not be tapping into? Be open to it. Why not? Because they may be right. We're leading the team, but a lot of that leadership comes about by listening to your stuff. They are, the people who are speaking to clients, moving the needle, achieving their goals, enjoying their rewards, embracing even things that we may need to improve, So when you have people who are passionate and are high performers, that's the best thing to be around. Essentially, you want people who challenge you, even in your day-to-day, because people say, I want to be satisfied mentally, We all feed off each other's energy, So when someone comes up with an idea or an approach, we discuss it. We have one-to-ones on a constant rolling basis, We don't have to have, reviews official. I mean, we do have the reviews and whatnot, but then you have a lot of informal chats. People's characters, their stage in their life tends to get them to resonate to different things of what they might be liking today, but they may not be liking in a couple of months' time. So it's listening, guiding, and if needs be, realigning, or rather than just realigning, I would rather say getting them on board with where you ultimately need to go.
As what I found in my journey as the manager, that every people in your organization has to understand the final destination where you're moving on. And
very true.
Like this whole strategy about that, that everyone has to know the goal. But like you said, that everyone can just drive to this goal in a bit different way. And what I see when empowering people, and I'm telling them that this is our goal, which is also really important, that all of the leaders in the organizations has to be on the same page. I mean, they has to understand the connection between, let's say, departments, how
Yes.
they can work together to, to go to this goal and to achieve this goal, and how this movement of what they did can make it better or make it worse for another ones, and just step you back to the goal that you have for the whole organization. And what I find that when everyone is aligned, let's say, with a goal, with a strategy, with a tactic plan, everything just can be on track for a really long period of time. You just have to grab your hands from that,
Exactly.
and not to crush what's going on really well. This is also one of the key rules for manager: don't broke what works.
What is working. Very true.
Yeah.
And also there's the incremental change to what you're doing. There's famous Rome wasn't built in a day, which is very much the case. You want to get to the ultimate destination, so it needs to be a series of baby steps building up to get to that, and celebrating the different milestones to get to that, because then everyone is saying, okay, we have a marathon in front of us, we have a massive project we need to deploy, and we're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. If you get them to see that light at the end of the tunnel, people generally will resonate to that.
That's right.
Along the way, of course, there would be things that you may need to move a little bit, but that's normal. You have a living organism, which is every company. We're built from humanity. People in generally will that they are part of this movement if you allow them to.
To my next question, Daniel, is mostly about yourself as the person. So could you please tell me and to the audience what specifically in your life feed you up with an energy, with the motivation, with this driven mechanism inside you that helps you to do your work routine and so on. But what are you doing outside of the work just to feed yourself up?
Number of things. I think you need to always strike a good work-life balance. It can't be constant work day in, day out, because you risk your mental health, you risk your physical health. So outside of work, for example, one of the things I got back to thanks to COVID, I would say, is rekindling some of the hobbies that I had. One of them, for example, is playing the guitar. Awesome. I love playing the electric guitar. I was part of a few bands growing up, during my teenage years, and thanks to COVID, after a long, hard day's work, I started. And one of the things I was surprised with actually is how your mind actually remembers, not all of it, of course, because the years are there, but most basics, let's say. I like photography as well. I love running. Love with a small L though, because it's not something that I am super keen on doing because I want to, do an ultra or an Ironman, kind of thing. I love it because it's something you can do very easily, going for a 10K jog, an 8K jog a couple of times a week. And the sensation it gives you exactly after, whoever runs feels this every time as well, is great. I typically do it, for example, on mornings. We have a small group of people.
Yes.
We go on Tuesdays, Thursdays, 6 a.m., gets you to the office, like you can take down the building kind of thing, and then, you start your day and so it goes on. During the summer months, I also like snorkeling with a harpoon as well. And the sensation of catching your own lunch, is phenomenal. We live on an island. We're surrounded by beaches. So those are more or less what I start enjoying.
We have a small tradition of this podcast, which I'm asking all of the people, all of the guests, about one quote or one sentence that you can share with the audience and with me that have changed you or shift your mindset in some way, and which is more valuable for us to know the story behind that and what it means to you, this quote or sentence that you have in your head.
Okay. One of the many nice quotes that are out there, it inspires me quite a bit, was a quote by Napoleon Hill, who said that patience, persistence, and perspiration is a winning combination of success. And the 3 P's, I call them, will ensure that people have to appreciate that things take their own time to be built. And if you want to reach, your ultimate goals, you can't simply wake up in the morning, click a finger, and you have instant success. But it's a journey. It needs its space to be nurtured. It's, seen over and over again that people sometimes taking shortcuts don't quite reach that ultimate goal. It's, I would say, feeling the inner fire in you to want to do something that you like. We lead, all of us lead high performance jobs. So we are all typically in a results oriented environment where, yes, you do have goals and numbers to reach and targets to exceed, so on and so forth. But I think that ultimately, if you find the burn inside you that allows you to perform and at the same time enjoy it, keeping it in a very real environment, will get you to achieve it long term.
That's right. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing everything that you shared today, and thanks for joining me today in this podcast.
Thanks, Igor.
It was a pleasure.